Muzz Wilson. Okay, well we'll do some of that tonight. It's pretty easy. It's not hard. So basically, what it is, dubbing is usually the loose material, loose hair and fur is usually put on thread and wrapped around and made bodies of drought flies and things like that. Saltwater flies are a little bigger, so you don't see a lot of it. But what he's doing here is basically just putting dubbing on material other than thread. So tonight we're just going to apply dubbing to the chenille that is provided in the kit, okay, and wrapped. So these are called, this style called Fuzzle flies is what he calls it. And he has like a Fuzzle minnow, a Fuzzle bugger. The little small one is great. That's going around is the little small one in there is they use for tadpoles, pollywogs, stuff freshwater ones. I prefer that bugger that's in there over like a woolly bugger. What it does is it just creates a lot of movement, but it's also a very translucent body when you play with the different materials underneath it, the different kinds of chenilles. So you can get, you can get a little sparkle in there if you want. But he has his own dubbing that he uses. It's called Fuzzle Dub, but I don't think you can get it in the States. It's an Australian thing, but I have a friend in Australia that sent me a bunch of it at one time, so I had some to compare, and I've gone to the stores to try and find things that are comparable that I've tied all those flies with. And Hobby Lobby or any of the yarn stores. Okay, so the stuff we're using tonight came from this here. I found the closest match is anything that has the most acrylic yarn to it. So it's close to 100% acrylic as you can find, and you'll have lifetime's worth of dubbing, right? So this has a little bit of, it's got a little bit of a like tinsel or something in it, but that's the one we'll be using tonight. And so that's what I've been using. It's cheap. I also played with the all white one that's got sparkle in it in the box. I played with the Hairline Sinews Laser Dub. You can get it in New Smyrna here or any of the fly shops. And it worked pretty good. It's a little bit stiffer, I think. I don't know. It just kind of like stays in place instead of flowing, but it worked fine when I was using it. He uses chenille. You can use, he's got one that's called I can't remember the name of it now, but he actually uses like your vinyl tubing and puts a little bit of wax on it and will dub right onto the vinyl tubing and wrap. Of course, you can put any kind of eyes on it. I've got different samples in there. You can barbell eyes, you can put lead eyes, you can just put beads on there if you want any kind of weight to it at all. I mean, it's more of a, like I said, a technique, and you just play with it. The way I do the dubbing, because I just cut the fibers. You want about an inch to inch and a half. I just kind of cut off the yarn, inch and a half pieces like this, and just kind of loosen them up a little bit. If you're going to play with this stuff and find this, go down to the secondhand store and get a coffee grinder for like $3-5 at a secondhand store, if not cheaper. You just take it, you drop it in the coffee grinder.
That's your dubbing, huh?
Almost, is that my plugged in or did I unplug? Or is it maybe it's not turned on? Anyways,
You want to do it? Or?
yeah, is it plugged in?
Right here.
Yeah, it's not working.
Oh, you got
I don't have power
We're
yet.
off for $3.
No, this works. This is not working, I don't think. Anyways, just pulse it. I mean, it takes all of about 5 seconds. You'll pulse it, and you're just going to get a big old, that's all I did with these packages. And you just pulse it, and it mixes it all together. That way you don't get these strands in it. But super easy. You can find all different colors and go dark. These are great. You find a lot of this that just has different strands that's just been dyed in different colors, so you'll get 10 different colors out of one. So, easy enough to get started.
About 100 lifetimes there, right?
Yeah, I got a lot there. I do other stuff with it too, but so anyways, and that's easy. A package costs you about $6. So we'll go ahead and get started. Ready to get your hook in there. We're using white thread if you got it. Tonight we're just doing a basic minnow. Go ahead and just attach your thread. I attach it behind the eye of the hook and just work it back right to where it starts to bend. You're just going to get a bundle like that to hold in your hand, and you're just going to tie that in. So you're just going to hold that bundle. You're going to tie that right in above the, basically above the barb of the hook, somewhere between the point and the barb. About the length of the shank of the hook. It all depends on what you're putting together. Any questions?
I say the TV won't work.
You got it overhanging behind the hook?
Yeah, off the back of the hook. Yeah, it's just like a tail, almost like you're tying in a marabou tail.
No,
And then just tie it down along the shank of the
you're
hook.
flying.
Promise?
You wish.
Then here's where you can go and add any barbell eyes or anything where you might want them. You can do shrimp eyes, turn it into a shrimp, whatever you want. So yeah, just look about like that.
Stuck it all the way forward.
Going all the way up to the eye or no?
I ran it up to the eye and then ran it back down. Just make sure it was all tied down and nice and smooth. You always want a nice smooth body, not any big lumps in there. So now I'm right back again at the base of the hook. So the next, everybody at that point? So next step, we're just going to tie in our chenille. So just like you would anything, the tie-in point is right at the base of the tail there. You should have enough for at least for two flies. So you're just gonna, I leave enough hanging about the length of the shank of the hook because I'm gonna tie in here where my fingers are, right behind the base of the tail, and then I'm just gonna wrap forward and wrap that chenille down along the top of the shank of the hook.
To help you out, huh?
So it gets all tied in. I don't know if you guys can see that. If I lift it up, if you guys can see it. So I'm tying in right at the base of the tail, and then I'm just going to move my thread forward and tie all that down to the top of the hook. So your thread should be left right behind the eye of the hook. Leave your little bit of space at the eye, don't crowd it. If your chenille's too long to work with, just cut it right in half. You're only going to need about half of that.
So what are you doing? Flip it over again, build it up.
Nope, I'm not building
You're
it up.
wrapping it
I
around.
just tied it in. Right now I'm right there, my
And then you're
thread.
wrapping it around.
Yeah, I'm not wrapping it around yet.
Oh.
Don't wrap it around yet. Just let it hang.
Supposed to be a tail. Another tight place.
Okay?
Is it tying in?
Yeah.
At the head or at the eye of the hook or back by the point?
I think he said to do it toward the tail and
It's tied in right at the base. The tie-in point is right at the base of the tail,
Okay.
right where you tied the tail in. And then you're just going to move your thread forward to the eye of the hook, tying in a little bit of the...
But you're not wrapping the,
Not wrapping yet. No, we're not wrapping yet. You should,
tie it in there?
yeah, you should just have your, right now you should just have the chenille hanging and the thread at the eye of the hook.
Oh. And then go all the way to the eye.
Yep, just wrapping down that chenille along the shank. That just keep wrapping that chenille down instead of tying it all in at the base of the tail and then trimming it there. You'll get buildup right at the base of the tail and you'll get kind of a lump. So by tying that chenille down along the shank, you're just keeping a nice, smooth, even body.
Sanders.
Everybody good?
Yes.
Okay, here's the hardest part. That's not very hard. So you're just going to take your chenille and you're going to hold it out towards you or down a little bit towards you, about a 45-degree angle is what I do. Pull it a little bit snug, hold it a little bit snug so there's some tension to it. And then you're just going to take, and it's this process, you start at the hook. You're going to take a little bit of your dubbing and you're just going to apply the dubbing right to the chenille. When you're dubbing, you're going to take, small amount like that. You're just going to put it on the chenille, and then you're going to use your fingers, your pointer finger and your thumb. And then you're going to pinch it onto the material, onto the chenille, and then you're going to go like this, and you're going to spin it onto the material. You got to always go the same direction. You can't go back and forth like this. You got to always go the same direction. Start up towards the hook and work your way down. You can always add more if you need to, but you just go back up above and make sure you're just spinning it the same direction. This is not like doing a trout fly, and a lot of this is gonna come off, so you can dub it very heavily.
Just keep wrapping it?
Just keep wrapping it around, and you're basically just kind of trying to evenly cover the chenille with your dubbing. You'll need for this fly, probably about 3 inches or so of it dubbed. So it's good. It should look, I don't know if you guys can see that. It should look like that. Just kind of dubbed on there. Now the same way you moved your fingers when you were twisting your fingers to apply that dubbing, just give that chenille a little bit of a twist. Just twist the chenille and you'll see the dubbing will just kind of wrap around it. It'll just kind of tighten it a little bit. It should tighten up that dubbing just a little bit.
I'm having a bad hair day.
That's all right. That's all right. So when I twisted it, it just tightened up a little bit. It just twisted around it. So now go ahead and just wrap it like you would chenille. All right, wrap it forward. Yeah, once you got it all done, you're just going to wrap it towards the head. Leave a little space to the head. Don't go right up to the head. Wrap it forward towards the eye and then tie it off. Nice tight. You should be wrapping tight, and you should have each wrap right snug next to each other. Like I said, make sure you leave just a little bit right at the head of the fly. And it might look a little ugly, that's all right.
Okay, good.
You got that part done.
All right, so you can get up to the eye. When you're done wrapping there, go ahead and trim the tag off of the chenille. And you can change color. So now you should have a little bit of space behind the eye of the hook. So sometimes I'll add now, like we've got a good light silver color. I might go a little darker up front, some gray or something that'll blend in with it, so you can show that head. So you can change the color if you're dubbing at that point. You could put a spot halfway through. You could have dubbed halfway up, put a little bit of red, and then dub the rest. That's all stuff that you just play with. Now, once you're up there behind the eye of the hook and everything's tied off, you should look like that. I like to just put a little bit of dubbing on the thread and just kind of bulk up right behind the eye of the hook a little bit. So just pinch a little bit dubbing onto the thread, same way. The tighter your pinch, the better it'll wrap.
More chenille.
No chenille, not more chenille, just put the dubbing right on the thread. And then you can go ahead and tie off.
Ugliest fly catches fish.
You can go ahead and tie it off once you've done that.
How much, just only at the head, you don't go all the way back to the...
Nope, right behind the head.
thing you always gotta be careful of.
Yeah.
All right, so it should just look like that, if you can see that.
Yeah.
Can't see this thing ever being tied
Is
up
that it?
later.
Come around real quick. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah,
So that's an Australian woolly bugger.
yeah. Don't. You've wrapped thread go back over the body, you want to make sure there's no thread wrapped over the body.
Oh, how do you keep it on?
Is that the
Oh,
it should be on there with the chenille.
Yeah,
So it should look something like.
yeah, it took me 3 years to learn how to do that.
Oh, that's what I had it.
Yeah.
That doesn't
One
never
video,
did.
guys in here trying to show me how to do that.
Dennis
So now-
never did learn how to do it, did he?
No.
So now once you've
I
got
watched
the
one
what?
video, and the guy
What's that?
showed it, and it just clicked.
I use mine.
No, you don't need this
Works
on.
good.
This, oh
no,
yeah,
nothing in the front?
no, nothing in the front there.
It won't go if I fold it over?
Nope, because then you gotta tie it down. You can do it. So go ahead with the Velcro, and you're just gonna mess it up as much as you can. All right, you're gonna go back and forth. You're gonna brush it up. You're gonna brush it down. You're gonna get underneath it. Right, you're gonna get on the side of it, and you're just gonna mangle it up about as much as you can, pulling those fibers out straight like that, just brushing. And then it should just look like a mangled mess, and then you just start, once you get it all, like, you want to be able to see the chenille that's underneath. So if you got some sparkle and stuff, and you're just making it messed up, but even. And then you just start brushing it towards the back. Okay? And it'll start forming a nice little fish body. You'll start to see some of that undercolor of the chenille. And so it's something you play with, that you know the different colors of chenille that you have, and so that's where you start getting the translucent look to it, and you just start brushing it back, straight back.
Same effect as when I brush back my hair.
All of it comes out.